The 2025 season will undoubtedly be remembered as one of the most improbable organizational turnarounds in the history of professional cycling. At the dawn of the final year of the 2023 to 2025 licensed triennium, the team formerly known as Astana, Kazakhstan, was staring into the abyss of WorldTour relegation. They faced a mathematically daunting deficit of between 4,720 to 5,000 UCI points just to reach safety. How did a team with such a rich legacy fall so far? It started with a strategy that yielded immense public relations value, but disastrous mathematical consequences. For 2 years, team manager Alexander Vinokurov dedicated his squad's tactical resources entirely to the 38-year-old Mark Cavendish with a singular goal: breaking Eddie Merckx's all-time record for Tour de France stage victories. While Cavendish achieved his historic 35th win in 2024, the team's singular focus starved the wider organization of cumulative UCI points. The modern UCI World Tour system requires teams to consistently place multiple riders in the top 10 or 20 across various races, heavily penalizing teams built around a single pure sprinter. Consequently, Astana plummeted to 21st in the triennium rankings by the end of 2024. Under the UCI's strict promotion and relegation system, only the top 18 teams retained their guaranteed World Tour status for the 2026-2028 cycle. Relegation to the second-tier pro team status meant losing automatic entry into the Tour de France and subsequent collapse in sponsorship valuation. The math was so dire that even winning all 3 Grand Tours in 2025 might not have been enough to save them. Astana needed a miracle. The catalyst for Astana's survival came from an aggressive off-season corporate restructuring and a massive capital injection from XDS Carbon Tech. Based in Shenzhen, China, XDS is the world's largest carbon fiber manufacturing factory. This partnership marked a watershed geopolitical moment, being the most significant entry of a Chinese bicycle manufacturer into the historically European-dominated World Tour. With relegation looming, Astana used this financial leverage to transition to XDS proprietary premium line. Despite initial skepticism about the untested Chinese frame surviving the grueling World Tour, the XD Lab 89 performed flawlessly. It was structurally resilient on punishing cobblestones, aerodynamically competitive in sprints, and lightweight enough for extreme mountain gradients. This technology shift proved XDS Carbon Tech's engineering capabilities and gave Astana the foundation equipment that it needed to go to war. Astana recognized that relying on public databases and traditional cycling intuition wouldn't close a 5,000-point gap. They relied on bespoke data analytics led by French data scientist Morgan Sassin. Sassin built a custom simulation software mapping the entire racing calendar, incorporating complex physics simulations like drivetrain efficiency and tire rolling resistance, and matching them with the rider's precise watts per kilogram capabilities. The algorithm didn't just ask who was fast, it asked what specific rider physiology perfectly matches the exact physics of the specific minor race. The data revealed a glaring inefficiency in the sport's structure. The UCI rulebook dictates that the point disparity between winning a prestigious World Tour stage race against the best riders in the world versus finishing highly in a secondary, poorly attended continental race is disproportionately narrow. Sassoon's model proved that engaging in direct head-to-head combat with established super teams at the Tour de France was mathematically inefficient and highly risky. Instead, Astana initiated a strict Moneyball exploitation of the calendar, searching for the highest points of difficulty ratio. They completely overhauled the historical racing program, adding an unprecedented 35 minor lower-tier one-day races to their schedule. Historically, Astana was a stage racing powerhouse, but the data showed that the UCI scoring system heavily favors one-day events. Winning a minor one-day race distributes the exact same quantum of points as surviving and winning a grueling week-long stage race in the same category. But identifying the races was only half the battle. They had to win them before the other teams woke up. Head of performance, Vasilis Anastopoulos completely restructured the team's winter training. By January-February, while rival World Tour teams were still casually building their baseline fitness, Astana's heavily armed squads were already peaking, relentlessly hoarding points in the shadows across the globe. By spring 2025, the payoff was impossible to miss. Astana were no longer waiting for one miracle result. They were stacking medium-sized hauls week after week. At the Tour of Turkey in 2025, the ECI point battles was obvious on the road itself, with Astana riding not just for glory, but for every place on every steep finish. Then came Bruxelles-La Domaine, where Aaron Gate won Stage 2 and sealed the overall, exactly the kind of efficient return the model was built to target. Later in the season, at the 2025 Langkawi, Matthew Michello kept delivering stage wins, while Astana continued to turn secondary races into a steady stream of points. This is the genius of the strategy. It was not one freak day. It was a calendar engineered to reward depth, preparation, and ruthless consistency. While bigger teams chased prestige, Astana kept harvesting value wherever the rulebook allowed. And that is how they dragged themselves out of relegation danger. Astana's clinical, unromantic exploitation of the UCI rulebook sparked a fierce ethical and tactical debate across the peloton. The most vocal critique came from a veteran Australian rider, Michael Matthews. Appearing on the Roadman podcast, Matthews delivered a blistering assessment, arguing that Astana's points-at-all-costs philosophy was eroding the team-oriented nature of the sport. Matthews stated bluntly, "Honestly, that's what, for me, is really killing cycling, is these points." He pointed out that instructing 3 riders from the same team to sprint against each other in the final kilometers was destroying the aesthetic of the sport, and turning these finishes into chaotic survival tests rather than pure speed battles. Prominent Dutch journalist Thijs Zolvaneld echoed this statement, publicly declaring the point system so broken. But for Astana, this wasn't about the romance of the sport. It was a multi-million euro battle for corporate survival. Aesthetic purity was a luxury that they simply could not afford. The final consolidated standings, as the 2025 season concluded, Astana's relentless point hunting yielded an astonishing 32 victories across the globe, their highest tally since 2019. They finished the 2023 to 2025 Triennium comfortably in 15th place with 30,341 points, clearing the relegation zone by over 4,400 points. By aggressively bridging their deficit, Astana didn't just save themselves. They displaced established French heritage teams. Cofidis suffered a catastrophic downward trend, failing to develop roster depth and ending the cycle relegated to 20th place, alongside Arkea B&B Hotels 21st. Meanwhile, the Norwegian pro team Uno X Mobility, utilizing a similarly aggressive continental strategy, secured a historic promotion to the World Tour. In a brilliant testament to the physiological victory, Astana released a viral rap video to celebrate their 20th anniversary in early 2026, dubbed Straight Outta Kazakhstan. By the press, the track was unabashedly a victory lap. The lyrics boasted, "We are the team, we chase one big goal. Have we run out of steam? No way, we're stronger." It cemented their Moneyball method and cultural consciousness of the sport. They discarded centuries-old sporting romanticism for extreme analytical. Astana proved conclusively that in the modern, highly regulated era of professional cycling, survival belongs not only to the most glorious teams, but also the most adaptable, analytically driven, and mathematically ruthless.